Hi everyone, YouTube. How you doing? I'm gonna talk today about when the devil loses your soul. You know, when he was kicked out of heaven, his main objective, as he took, think about it, he took 1/3 of the angels. You talk about the power of influence, and the thing is about the influence he was given. He said that the pipes came out from him. He was a worshiper of God, the musician, the grand musician, right? So he knew and he understood with precision the tonal qualities, the right harmonics, the right frequency by which to communicate directly and inadvertently, like a snake, right? To attain his mission. He couldn't defeat God, of course, because God created him. And some people would say, well, okay, wait a second here. So who created the devil? God goes on to say that you were perfect in the days and the time that I made you until iniquity was found in you. Now, the translation could go on to so many different arenas. It means that somewhere within the contextual factor of where God created him, and not only as a living, but as a free being to serve God, right? With all of these amazing, I mean, he said he basically was given the stones, right? The STONES. What are the odds that a guy, people who write the music about Simply for the Devil is actually called a Rolling Stones. Interesting. I mean, you think, well, that's just reaching. You look over the earth and you'll see different stones have been discovered. And they said that he had the stones, and he said he even walked in the Garden of Eden established as a tree. Okay. So getting back to what I was talking about, where when the devil loses your soul. Now, since he's after anything else, Jesus says that do not be afraid of those who can destroy a body and then that's it, but be afraid of him who can destroy both body and soul in hell. And the very word hell, I assume that it was used, was Sheol or Gehenna, and it was a place of the abode of where Satan is finally going to go. This is the ultimate place of absolute destruction, something that was made for such grandiose and failed miserably because of its decision. See, this is the will of God for the decision's sake. That is the glory of God in people's lives. So you can never blame God. When the devil loses your soul and he knows he's lost his grip on you on the inside, see, as Jesus begins to work in your life as being the Son of God, and he always has been with his Father. He said, my Father is very pleased with me, and I always do all those things everywhere, anytime. So this would have been going on even before he became flesh. This is the relationship he had. We see in the Old Testament that God called the angels when the sons of God, when he created, the sons of God rejoiced. They were talking about the angels. So God is in business not making any strangers. He makes children, right? He created children with supreme accuracy. So I'm going to go down the avenue of accuracy. When when the devil loses your soul is because he accurately saw that you enter into a place of accurate. It's like a pinpoint decision you made that God was going to be your king. God was going to be everything to you and not anything else. See, he comes masking himself in so many different areas. I mean, like one guy wrote, he says, there's two great evils, and the devil loves it, is that one, that people don't believe in him, and others who have a very unhealthy interest in him, right? He says you got to have a balance there. The thing is about losing your soul, he will set up other people's soul to try to get you back. And what he's after is your faith. Your faith is the accuracy by which God talks to you. Your faith is like the umbilical cord. It's the same way he created mankind, and mankind was going to reproduce. They were reproduced, and they, without the life-giving nutrients of the umbilical cord, there would be no transaction of nutriency to carry that baby, the embryo, into a baby, into outside the womb to be able to be born, right? When you become born again, right? Again, God has entered into the same way he entered into creation through Mary and created this operation. And it was not, people say, oh, God had intercourse. No, no, no. A creator over his creation. He implanted, said, great is a mystery, for God was manifested in the flesh. It's a mysterious. Our mind can never even comprehend. How is that possible? That you could take eternity and place it into a womb and have it become part human, part eternity. How is that possible? God did that. All through your journey from the time the devil has been losing your soul to the time he loses it is because God got involved with your soul. He got involved. And when you begin to enter into devolvement, which is the cycle, the circle of how can I put it, the person of God, you enter into God as your parent. Based upon that level, you begin to relate to God on a different level. It's called a love relationship. This is something that the devil can't touch. What he can do, he can touch you through other people around you with disappointment, bitterness, questions as to why things happen like they do. And the majority of the times as you grow up in God, is that you'll realize the majority of the things you face were strategic weapons against your relationship with the living God who is now your father, right? See, the devil has many people. He has all these different people in different areas of religion and everything, but he does, when he loses your soul, he knows he has lost it. And what happens at that point, as God is in heaven, you are on earth, you become a literal warring weapon of God against him. And he will try, and I trust me when I say this, he doesn't try that we would like to think the way somebody climbing up a hill and stopping along the way. This guy comes on strong. He'll come on very strong. Okay. Now, the part about where it works against him is that you will learn to submit to God more. In that way, you can resist him and he will flee. It doesn't mean, even as Jesus says, even as written in the Bible says, and the devil departed from him until another opportunity, another opportune time, right? That's how he works. Getting back to where he loses your soul. When he loses your soul, he begins to lose all the other stuff he planted in your life. And not only that, he begins to lose the legacy and the foothold he has in the generations because you can change. You're now in a different frequency. Getting back to him knowing frequencies, he can pick up a certain type of decibel of information that in your life, your force, your being. The same way he was made and said by the winds he would express the worship towards God. He didn't have to say anything. Through his very presence, your very presence becomes like a wind with different tonal quality wherever you go. And that's the presence of God. Wherever you go, you will touch. You will walk and you will touch, and you're the authority of the Most High. That's why Jesus says, and he who believes in me, these signs will follow them. They'll cast out devils, right? Now, devil don't want that. When he loses his soul, number one, he will begin to experience the casting out of his minions and of his generals and his lieutenants and all the other ones that are under his employ whom fell with him. In a degradable manner, so they are now, right? Another thing you will do is you will heal the sick. You will come to the place, and only so many people through history were able to do it. You were able to speak life and raise the dead in so many different ways. The thing is, what the way the devil works is that when he sees that he's lost your soul, he has to find the connection in your life, and he has to find whose soul are you connected to. That is how he begins to work. That's how he begins to work. And their soul will operate, and he will equip them. Now, this is the interesting thing, is that he will equip them supernaturally to match you. And I can testify to this, is that the more you grow in the graces of the Most High, and the more gifted you are, and you become the enablement from the Most High, you cannot but. I mean, you're talking about God here. When his presence is over you, it's not just that. There's so much information starts to affect your being all around you. You're physically, everything, spiritually, soulishly, your environment. And he's got to find people who you have an emotional tie to. See, this is a compromise. When he loses your soul, he has to find those whose souls are still knitted to yours. Thereby, he can basically set up his docking station, and he can just pour in a little bit at a time. So he has all the time in this world until God says, that's it. You don't. You have an expiry date. I'm not saying about like the way other people who die and they go to hell and they're damned. I'm talking about your expiry date is in the flesh. You move on from that fact. From the time that you are born again, you are given a specific region of authority and tasks and giftings and powers, and you live in a purpose. You live in a design. What God intended for mankind all along. He said he made us Lord of the angels, but to be crowned with great glory and honor. How God finds honor is to see his beauty, his majesty working through you, and that honor coming through you. See, God doesn't share his glory, but he actually allows his glory to be for you to partake of it, right? And as you grow, I'm going to back up a little bit. One surefire way the devil will lose his complete hold on you, okay, is by the amount of the nature and the character of God that's going to be exceedingly well in your life, or exceeding in your life. The word of God says this is what God desires from man, that he would do justly. And he's not talking about just one time, do as in always, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. Okay? These three areas he will come after you. Because if he can get you to do what's unjust, even just one time, and just a few times, he's got a foothold. When he loses your soul, remember what I said, he's after the way to get you back little by little. The second thing he will do, if he can get you to the place of becoming bitter and merciless, you walk away from the character of whom God is. Because God is extremely merciful, and he displayed it, said the glory of God was shown on the cross. The glory of God. He said, and when the angels came down, he said, peace on all earth and glory and majesty and kindness and goodness towards mankind. That was to be shown forth through his son, but more exceedingly by what took place in that cross. Curses were broken. Things that were going backwards in anyone's life that now comes to the cross begins to have a reversal. You begin to change the course of action in your life. And the third thing he comes after, because that's what made him fall, he comes after your humility. When the devil loses you as a soul, he goes into the highest level of strategy. I'm going to go more into this in a lot of my other videos. What I like to say is this. At some point, and it comes by sitting down and having God really help you to understand, because you're in this realm, in this earth realm, there's so many avenues of swinging back and forth about this. You will become more serious, not serious to the point that you become so astute and you don't have no joy, but you're going to become very serious. You can be having the greatest joy. You can be the person, because it says that the righteous or those who are really good in God's sight, they have this joy, this beautiful joy with them, right? There's a continuous party inside of them. They're always having a feast within. not pigging out, in other words, but they're well off, right? He has to find a way to basically get in there. And when he comes in your environment, whilst you are having the joy of the Lord, there's going to be that moment when you stop. And all of a sudden, things start to quicken the discernment of the Most High. And you go, oh, because you recognize him and you know he's in the midst. Because how you'll know that? Because you've grown in this area, you're able to weigh and discern with accuracy the difference between good and evil. So I give you the biggest news, the greatest news. When the devil loses your soul, he has no claim on you anymore. All he has to do is get you to accept his claim. That makes such a difference in how the strategy works. He's lost all power over you. Okay? Have a good day. Do like and subscribe. We'll talk again.